TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us.
You are now listening to Tuff Tiger Talk Flash Report.
Head injury, was not able to come back. We'll obviously have to, put him through more testing before I can accurately say whether that was concussion, non-concussion, things of that nature.
What's the biggest challenge defending Jalen Milroe?
Well, I think it's the challenge that we knew. His ability to run. We talked all week about a unit pass rush. He's elusive. I think, for the most part, I think the big runs were probably the things that hurt us the most tonight.
What happened?
Jacques?
The third downs, their percentage on third down, and it seemed a lot of that was Milroe quarterback draws and everything. Was it hard to adjust to that? Or?
I don't think they were draws as much as they were, I think there were much more scrambling situations. And again, I think we've seen it on both sides of the ball. You've watched Jaden in terms of scrambling. You're in a very difficult situation there. If you're dropping 8, you're rushing 3. There's big holes. If you're spying, you're short in coverage. We're fighting our tails off to get stops out there. So it's just a difficult situation when you have a quarterback that's gifted like that.
Ron?
Yeah, Brian, I know that coaches aren't allowed to request to have a play review for targeting, but the Daniels play, what did you see? And did you think it should have been reviewed by the officials?
We asked them. They said that the replay booth was reviewing it for targeting. Obviously, I don't have the ability to see that. But any time that there is contact to the head or neck area, you're thinking that there must be some form of targeting. They reviewed it, didn't feel there was, so we moved on.
Ryan?
With Milroe, did some of the things in the secondary, you were hampered obviously by injury, that kind of schemed you out of some things, and you had to cover it up with other things, so you kind of got loose?
No, I got to watch the film to know, there was 2 times where we didn't get a particular call, where we should have been in a particular call where we would have had an end looping right into it. So there were some missed calls out there that, require a discipline of the group. Again, for me to answer like right after the game and give you a specific, we knew his strengths. We had a game plan that we felt that would address it, but we are limited in some of the things that we can do, and didn't want to get into a lot of man situations.
What happened to where Jaden was able to get back out there briefly after getting hurt?
He was evaluated, was cleared, and then came back, and they looked at him again and felt like he wasn't prepared to go back into the game and held him out of the game. Those are decisions that are made by our medical team.
Is there just too much pressure on your offense, even playing at the high level they're playing at, when you're just giving up that many points? And like the turnover, Jaden.
The turnover hurt. Look, we're playing a top 10 team on the road. You can't play good. We played good tonight. Good's not good enough. You have to play elite when you go on the road and play a top 10 team. Good's not good enough. And we didn't play at a high enough level. Yeah, if we don't throw the interception, we go down and score. I mean, then they're going, wow, that Alabama defense gave up a lot of points. Look, it was a game that we needed to play better. We needed to coach better, and we knew we were going on the road and playing a top 10 team in their place, and you got to play better and you got to coach better when you get those opportunities. And we just didn't reach that elite level tonight.
Ed, Coach, what did you think of your tackling tonight?
I thought at halftime I put 3 things up on the board. I thought if our eye discipline was better, if I thought our leverage on the football was better, and we tackled better in the second half, we could win the game. We went. Obviously, we were tied at the half, and none of those 3 things showed up to be better than good. They needed to be elite, and they weren't.
Bryce?
Coach, right over here, you had obviously some pre-snap issues, snap infractions. Anything that you can pinpoint right now, or is that something you have to go kind of back in the film and see?
Look, we've got an experienced center who, is really good, and they got a big nose tackle on him. It was really loud. It's no excuse, but it goes into what I'm saying. You can't have those mistakes and expect to go to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama with those kinds of mistakes. So we've got to get better at it. We've got to prepare better. We've got to coach our players better in those situations when we go on the road in these kinds of environments. So when we get another chance to go on the road and play a top 10 team, we play at a higher level. We can't just play good. Good's going to get you beat against teams like this.
Cobble?
What did you think of your linebacker play specifically in the second half?
Oh, my God. You guys are killing me. I mean, the specifics that you ask, I respect. I really do. But it's so hard for me. I mean, I'm trying to coach guys on the field. Like, there were some fits there that needed to be better. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Those guys in there played their tails off for LSU. They played hard. They played to win. But they didn't play mistake-free. There were too many missed tackles. We had too many drops. We had a turnover. And that's just not good enough at the end of the day when you play a top 10 team on the road.
Okay, we got time for 2 more. Seth and then Wilson.
Speaking of playing the hearts out, can we just talk about Jaden's performance in this game?
I mean, I think he's indicative of what I'm talking about. I mean, he was good tonight. He wasn't, he wasn't great. He would like to be considered great every week. He was good. He was good. He was really good. And he's tough. The runs that he had tonight were outstanding runs that kept drives alive. I mean, if he's not out there, we're not even in the game. I mean, he made a difference. But I'm sure there's going to be some things that he would like to do better as well.
Wilson.
On Jaden's interception particularly, was there a certain problem that led to it, or was it just the play by Dallas Turner that kind of...
No, we were running a quick slant. So, your arm angle changes a little bit. A lot of those throws are well-timed throws that get blocked. And, again, he just timed it up, got his hands up, and got the deflection.
Thank you, Coach.
Good. All right.
All right. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all joining us for this episode of Tuff Tiger Talk, man. We're going to recap to the best of our ability this matchup that happened with the Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa. There's 3 things I want to go over. This team has really wasted its opportunity, is wasting its opportunity in terms of having an offense as good as what they have, and the defense is non-existent. The goddamn defense doesn't exist. These guys walked down the field on LSU. They didn't provide a turnover. They knew they could not let Milroe run around and do what he did. He put up almost 160 yards with 4 damn rushing touchdowns, running through these people. The names are Psalms. The names are Sage Ryan, and several other defensive backs were relatively non-existent in stopping Alabama. The LSU was riding with them for a while, but the defense just didn't give them an opportunity. They were pathetic. And I hear what Coach Kelly's saying. He's going to defend his guys, and credit to him for trying to defend these guys. But the tape is not forgiving. You went in. This is his directly. You can see he's visibly upset about what he should be upset, because it's three things I want to go over in this loss, man. I'm not going to hold y'all very long. So y'all, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. LSU falls to 6-3. They're 4-2 in conference play. They had a supreme opportunity to beat this very vulnerable Alabama squad. This is not an Alabama team that is from years past. This was a very vulnerable team. LSU, for most part, offense is better, but unfortunately, the defense is not better. The defense did not provide stops. I don't think these people punted one time and again. We'll go over the statistics, and I'll give you my take on this whole thing. But this is ridiculous, man. Now they're a 3-loss team. They're losing. They lost to Alabama, and they shouldn't have lost to Alabama, to be honest with you. They shouldn't have lost to Alabama. The defense is pathetic. It's trash. It's wasted Jaden Daniels this year. They're awful. Now they gotten better when they brought in the new coach, the defensive line coach, to kind of talk them up. But outside of that, the secondary has been relatively, against lesser opponents, they shine. But when it's time to play some top 10 teams, they fall the hell apart. They look stupid. They look confused. They back ass. They missing tackles, stuff that you shouldn't do. And we're late. We have 3 games left in the season. There shouldn't be these guys where they still look confused and they missing tackles. I mean, just missed tackles all over the place. On Milroe's run, several guys have an opportunity to bring them down, and they do not. So, I mean, I think Coach Kelly really has to do work that transfer portal coming up this year. And even though we lose Jaden Daniels and somebody else to come in and take over the team, my goodness, boy, what a hell of a year we've squandered away because of the pathetic trash ass defense that we have. They didn't do anything out there. They couldn't force turnovers. They allowed the quarterback to run as much as they did. Just trash. Anyway, let's look at it. 28-21 with the first downs. They were 11 of 14 on third down. That's ridiculous. 11 of 14. So you mean 3 times they missed out on? They just got whatever they wanted on this defense. Total yards 507 to 478 in the game. LSU was 4 of 9 on third down. The passing game, they had 219 yards versus LSU's 272 yards. Their quarterback ran 9, and he had a 9.5 average every time he scrambled. That means that guy almost picked up a first down every time he scrambled. That showed you how awful and stinking trash this defense was yesterday. Ridiculous. And of course, you look at the rushing attack, 288 to 206 advantage to the Alabama Crimson Tide. You look at the attempts, they had 46 rush attempts, including the scrambles by the quarterback versus 24 by LSU. These people average 6.3 yards per rush, where LSU's 8.6. Ridiculous, man. Then in the end, you look at the penalties, 8 penalties for 60 yards versus 6 penalties for 50 yards in favor on LSU. And of course, the turnover, well, the deflection. Time of possession 33 versus 26-27 in favor of the Crimson Tide. Now, what's interesting about this game is 2 things that I want to talk about. Actually 3. And we'll now kind of use the individual statistics, kind of delve into it, just so that we can understand what went wrong for LSU. All they had was Jaden Daniels yesterday. All they had. Malik Neighbors stepped up. He had plays. Brian Thomas did a little stuff here, but Malik Neighbors, he showed up. He had 10 catches, over 170 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels was everything. Like he's been pretty much this entire season. He had 219 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns in a pass that was deflected at the line. He ran the ball 11 times for 163 yards. He averaged 15 yards per run and had a touchdown doing that. So the bulk of the rushing attack was him. Nobody else was even close. The next closest rusher was Logan Diggs with 24 carries. Not much shaking on that. But the issue with the offense is I think the offense did enough. Now, they did have 1 turnover off a deflection, but the defense didn't do a damn thing to slow down Alabama's offense. Their damn punter punted 1 time in the game. 1 time they made him punt. them people basically got whatever they wanted whenever they wanted on the LSU defense. They basically walked their asses up and down the field all day. LSU defense was pathetic. They was trash. They couldn't get to the quarterback. The secondary was missing tackles. They were out of place. They were dumb. And this reappeared from early on in the season when they play stiffer competition. The defense shrinks. We need to find better personnel. I mean, to be honest with you, these guys, good players, do not miss as many tackles as these guys do. And they repetitively, consistently were missing tackles, taking poor angles. And even though Coach Kelly didn't want to play the man by man or play the man-to-man coverage, he was playing a lot of zone in there, backing up off them to keep things out front of them. What good did they do when Milroe running all over you? Because the defense is not making the stops. The defense is not doing what it's got to do. So that's number one. Number two, the officiating in Alabama was incredibly corrupt and criminal. That's number two. The referees calling this game, they should have been arrested for the bullshit that they was pulling out there. That kid they took Jaden Daniels, the guy hit Daniels and drove him into the ground, giving him a concussion. And the dude who hit him was allowed to stay in the game. They were purposefully missing holding calls that were evident throughout the entire game. When there was holding calls on all, I mean, not even sneaking ones, like ones where you see the guy's shirt is extended while making those calls against LSU. They purposefully, blindly allowed criminal holding, which freed up a lot of those runs that we see Milroe's pile up on 155 yards rushing. The defensive line didn't play well, but they wasn't that bad. And Brian Kelly should have got up off his ass and he should have been fussing and complaining to them referees about what they were doing in that game and totally missing those holding calls that those Alabama offensive linemen were doing. Because a lot of the holding that they were doing helped spring up the quarterback's run. And of course, McClellan also had runs off of holding too. So it was a lot of criminal stuff going on with these officials. They were absolutely awful. They might as well put on Crimson Tide colors yesterday because they did everything to help Alabama win that game. They did everything. They were egregious in that game. They were egregious. Then when the let me know the fix was in was when that guy planted Jaden Daniels and they didn't throw him out the goddamn game. That was a clear-cut play that he needed to be thrown out of. Should have been thrown out. But you throw Deion Sanders' son off for a hit that he hit, but this guy plants a guy and doesn't get thrown out of that because them bastards was in on it, man. But still in all, regardless of the gutless bastard referees, LSU still had plenty of opportunities to win this game because the dumb referees did not stop the heinous, dumbass defense from missing tackles and being out of position. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this was pathetic. It was awful. It was a trash-ass performance by LSU. It showed the difference where LSU could have taken a step in the right direction and have beaten Alabama. That offense the LSU Tigers have is better than Alabama's offense, despite what we've seen. But they're not a better team, a complete team, because the Alabama Tide defense is a good defense. They were able to capitalize. They were able to get the stops that they needed in the second half. They was able to force a turnover. For LSU's defense, they made them people punt one time and they walked up and down the field on them. It forced LSU and put pressure on LSU to constantly have to score over and over again on that defense. Something has to be done, man. Something has to be done. Maybe it's too late. They have 3 losses on the season. They pretty much going to play in the Peach Bowl or the Chick-fil-A Bowl or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. It ain't going to be a bowl worth shit. It ain't going to be a bowl for a national championship. They blew the opportunity against Alabama. That showed that they're not as good as they thought they were because, hey, the offense is very good. Jaden Daniels is on a Heisman Trophy level, but the defense is awful, man. I mean, they shrunk, man. What happened to Mason Smith? There was some holding, but still in all. What happened to the rest of these guys that were supposed to step up a shot? What was up with Perkins, man? And then, of course, the secondary. Where were you guys? Where were they? They're going to have to find some people. I'm serious. In the transfer portal coming up next year, they're going to have to do something, man, because they're not going to stand a chance with this. This defense, especially the secondary, is one of the weakest units that I've seen in a very long time. They shrink against top 10 opposition. It's just ridiculous, man. But anyway, on the statistics, Jaden Daniels 15 to 24 for 219, 2 touchdowns. And he's the third point of this. When we talk about the first thing being the defense, the second thing being the referee, the third thing was Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels played like a champion. He got knocked out of the game, and once he got knocked out of the game, you don't have a chance because Nussmeier is a gunslinger. He's excitable, but he doesn't have the cool temperament and the intellectual game that Jaden Daniels has, the accuracy that he has. You think he can fit balls but through tight windows and guys triple covered. Well, I can get it in there as opposed to spanning the field to find a better throw. He has to improve on that. He's excitable, but still in all, he can't lead a team like with 2 touchdowns and they had time, lead LSU to victory against an Alabama. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's not there yet. Maybe next year we'll see. But today, if you don't have Jaden Daniels leading your team, like they could play inferior competition. We got Florida coming up next. But in the end, man, it's just a epic failure by the Alabama, by LSU to get the victory. 163 yards by Jaden Daniels, 219 through the air. He was everything. Malik Neighbors, 10 catches for $171. 1 touchdown. Kyron Lacey had 2 for 39 and a touchdown. Brian Thomas, 3 for 36. Mason Taylor in there, 3 catches for ineffective 19 yards. He dropped the big second down play or third. I forgot which one it was that could have really helped us because he's trying to run without the ball. He's scared to get hit. So, it was just like, I don't know what to tell you about these people. Greg Penn, 10 tackles on the game. Harold Perkins had 8, 1 sack. By him, Parashine had a sack, so 2 sacks. They could not get to that guy, and they allowed him to run around on him, that guy being Milroe. Tore him up. He threw for 219, no touchdowns through the air, mind you, but everything on the ground. 20 carries for $155, 4 rushing touchdowns, and of course, McClellan is the other back. He had 63 carries for 1. So it wasn't just Milroe. If we stopped Milroe, we good. No, they allowed all of those guys to pile up at least 4 yards a rush. Roydell Williams had 9 yards a carry. McClellan 4.5 yards per carry. So it didn't matter who was getting the ball, who was running. LSU was just caught. Their defense was trash. Up front, middle, secondary, all of them was garbage. So in the end, they go down in blazes. They go up there, and like I said, I expect when you go up to Alabama, I'd expect you to go into Alabama and have problems. I really do. I expect you to go up there because I expect the referees not to call it fair, and they didn't call it fair in the game. They were purposefully missing these calls against LSU, all these holding calls that help open up these big runs where these running backs, a lot of those calls, not all, but a lot of those were really bad calls, holding calls that was not called in the game. That's what the reporters were hinting at, that, about all the holding calls. And he's like, I knew there were some. And Brian Kelly, I don't know what you was watching, man, and maybe you're trying to be more on your politician stance, more diplomatic, but that's not called for. That you should have made a big ass stink about that, because these bastards wasn't doing nothing that they were supposed to do. They wasn't doing anything that they were supposed to be and calling that game the way they were supposed to be called. It's totally ridiculous. So anyway, it was awful, man, and it is just distasteful. And they really, LSU really have squandered away an opportunity this season. And we kind of had an idea the defense is playing better, but not at a level where it's supposed to like make stops. There was no stops, enough stops, maybe 1 stop. They made him punt 1 time. That is, you can't sit up here and tell me with LSU thinking about making the next step and the defense is as bad as what it is. What happened to Mason Smith? What happened to all these other guys that's supposed to step up and show something? Where were they at? Why wasn't the philosophy adjusted and changed? What the hell was going on out there? Seriously. In the end, they go down in smoke, man. 42-20. They got Florida coming up next. Jaden Daniels, there'll be an update on what's up with Jaden Daniels. Obviously he's suffering from a concussion. Whether or not he'll make it through the concussion protocol is yet to be determined. We'll have to wait and see how that all would look. But in the end, this is just distasteful, and pretty much they won't be competing for no championships this year. And I was looking at it saying to myself, it all depends, because the barometer game is Alabama. They had plenty of time. They had the week off prior to it to be able to prepare a stratagem. And that's what you came up with after winning 2 games in a row. We got the bye week, coming off the bye week, and then let them people put up 42 points on you. And then you only let them punt 1 time or force them to punt 1 time. You couldn't get to them, couldn't contain them. That's just ridiculous. This is not even though this Alabama team they played really well. Officials helped out, and LSU's defense was garbage. They shrunk. They shrunk down and allowed this team to walk them up and down the field, which is terrible, man. That sucked. It stank. Damian says the team knows it's over. Yeah, in this team gave, you could see in the game that they gave up when them guys missing tackles that bad. That Psalms guy, man, my goodness, dude. You want to talk about a player that is up and down and all around. Those two safeties back there. Then Sage Ryan was out there. I mean, come on, man. I mean, there's not one of those guys from week to week, like in these top games, that we can point at and say we can count on that guy right there to make some plays, to force a turnover, to get an interception, to do something. Them guys are basic as hell, man. They're as normal as it gets. We don't have any playmakers in that secondary, fam. No disrespect. I calls them as I sees them. No dogs back there. These guys are puppies. I'm just going to be honest with you. There ain't no dogs out there with no gumption, nothing, none of that. These are puppies, man. Running around, their heads spinning, they missing tackles, taking poor angles. This late in the season does not make sense. This was a game that basically decided if he was going to play for the national championship or not. And the defense says, I'm scared. I don't want to do this. And that's what happened. Youngblood says, Q, what do you think about Kelly's running rotation using 3 or 4 backs every game? Doesn't give them a chance to get in the groove of the game. I think I've seen him use multiple running backs, and I think it's a good strategy because he's trying to basically find the one that gathers the rhythm. We've seen him use multiple running backs, and then Logan Diggs will catch a rhythm, and he'll just keep Diggs running the ball. You see what I'm saying? He does that to see which one catch fire first, and then he rides the hot hand. So I'm not mad. I'm mad about how he does that, and I like that idea because it takes the defense, and it gives the defense a problem for it to adjust to multiple styles of running backs. They got to adjust to the speedsters, the north-south runners, guys like that, and that just keeps them adjusting to what we're doing, which is a positive. And then ultimately, when he finds one that works, whether it's Josh Williams or Logan Diggs or anybody else, he rides with them and they start getting that ball a little bit more, mix that in with Jaden Daniels. So I'm not mad about the rotations on that, bro. Jed says that if you think the season was a letdown, it's going to be much worse next year. Jed, you could be right. But at the end of the day, I want to see what he's going to do with the transfer portal, because we know what we need, man, right? We know with Jaden Daniels, he's gone, right? Jaden Daniels is going to be gone. Malik Neighbors is going to be gone. I think Brian Thomas is going to be good. They'll have several really good stars going. So they got some guys behind them that have to step up and do some stuff, especially at losing Jaden Daniels and having whoever with Gus Nussmeier, who, stepping up to the plate right there. You could be right that the time, and that's why we kind of frustrated, because the time for if the jump was going to happen would have been this year. So the defense was woefully behind in talent to help the offense get where it needs, because this offense is good enough, very good enough to compete in the top 5 and be a national champion. But the defense is not. The defense is sparse. They got guys here and there. Mason Smith I don't know what he's doing. Jordan Jefferson plays better than he does. He's supposed to be this big guy that's a dominant force. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it consistently. I don't see it consistently. I see Jordan Jefferson fighting his ass off. This Mason Smith guy, just to me, I don't know. And then, Harold Perkins didn't look like all that yesterday. He was constantly in the pursuit angles. He was his head on a swivel, all kind of stuff. Just didn't look good. And then the secondary, what can I say about the secondary? They're a bunch of puppies. They're tiger cubs. What can I tell you? They're not full-grown tigers looking to make plays. These are cubs back there. These are guys that are not ready for that. They are basically normal players. There's nothing special about our defensive backs. They get toasted on a regular. They can play good and big against these lesser opponents, but when you meet somebody in the top 10, boy, they shrink. I mean, they rip that. They bring out the damn Rick Moranis a shrinking machine, boy, and they get real tiny against some of these other teams. So yeah, you might have a point on that, Jed. You might have a good point on that. Youngblood says Omar Speights has been as good. Yeah, I thought Speights, the transfer, would be a good addition to the defense. He didn't look good at all yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And that's all that's because because he is a nickel guy. But that's the best that they have right now because the cornerback situation is so pathetic. It is trash. That's what I'm saying. All right, Dame says Q, my Green Wave still, yeah, they still doing the thing, man. The Green Wave still handle the business, brother Damien. Yeah, that's right. I had to bring y'all back on that. You ripped out the Rick Moranis time machine and not the shrinking machine, and honey, I shrunk the damn kids. That's right. That's what happened. They are tiger cubs back there, and they have to play Ryan where he plays out of comfort because the cornerback's so terrible. We've had guys that were supposed to come in and help. They've just been absent, like Denver Harris and all these other. The Chestnut Kid, all these guys. It's just not working. So the LSU has to fix the secondary. They're going to have to do something get some more bigger, pass rushers to get fire off against the quarterback, clean up the linebacker. The defense has to be the focal point. And of course, when Jaden Daniels and all these other guys move on, it's a whole nother role coming up here next year. You did. So if anything was going to happen for LSU in terms of playing for a national championship, it would have had to been this year. And they know that that's why it hurts because you get Jay Daniels comes back for that extra year. And he's like, yeah, with him, we got a chance. He's playing on a very high level and the defense can't match the offense, not even half the way. If they could have got at least 2 more stops in the game could have looked differently. They didn't do. They let these guys walk up and down the field on them. They didn't get any turnovers. They didn't do no stripping. They would try to tear the ball out of there. They wasn't trying to do none of that, man. So I mean, it's in the end, they shrunk in one of the biggest games of the year. And how about that? You have to look at Matt House as a guy. Yeah, you got to look at whether or not we should stand. Of course, they'll make the excuse that, we got to bring some more guys in here. And I think Coach Kelly likes the guy. But I wouldn't be mad if they make a change at the defensive coordinator position. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, LSU could very well lose Mike Denbrock too this year. You know what I'm saying? He championed a pretty damn good offense that might have earned Denbrock an opportunity from somebody to be a coach. He could be pulled away from LSU. There was some rumors on they could lose Mike Denbrock to somebody. You know what I'm saying? He might take a job somewhere else. I wouldn't be mad if that happens. Then we change Matt House too. Of course, that means that they'll have to resituate the defense, which they have to resituate the defense either way, because I don't think what they're trying to do with these guys is a comfortable fit. It looks good against lesser opponents, but when you playing elite level competition, all the flaws and cracks are evident. Let me just tell you. Anyway, with that being said, fam, I'm gonna get out on that. Listen, I appreciate y'all for chiming in. We got Florida coming up next on the 11th, and the LSU has to. We're going to see what's going on with Jaden Daniels. I don't know if he's in concussion. He might not be able to play in the Florida matchup. They go back to Death Valley, and they'll have an opportunity to play there. And Florida is 5-4. They're 3-3 in conference play, so LSU's a little bit better. Maybe we can get on the plus side against this team, against what they got going on out there. Their quarterback Graham Mertz. 17 touchdowns against 2 picks, over 2,400 yards, just over that. He's their top guy. And of course, we see a few other players, some of their best running back, like Montrell Johnson Jr., the running back, has just over 555 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Pearsall, their top wide receivers, 55 catches for 773. Florida is not looking too good. They're 5-4. Let's go ahead on and kick them into the 500 department and get a win to improve to 7-3. Hopefully the Tigers, with 3 games left in the season, can be able to finish out the season with 10 wins. And then the bowl win would make 11 wins, which means you had a +1 in the win column, which does represent progress enough to sell on recruits that's coming here. Last year we were 10 wins. This year we 11 wins. Hey, listen, we done close out the season. We did beat Florida. We beat Texas A&M. We beat Georgia Southern, whoever we got to play, Georgia State, whatever little cupcake we got to play. And then we go into the bowl season. We in the Chick-fil-A bowl or whatever little bowl. It ain't gonna be worth nothing. But we beat whoever we beat in the bowl. That gives us 11 wins. So that's something that we could take to recruits and say we won 10 last year. We won 11 this year. We are and going in the right direction. So, man, it is what it is. All right, so anyway, with that being said, we're going to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate y'all for chiming in. Y'all, please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to holler at you on the next one. Go Tigers.
You are now listening to